So now do you understand my position on this?
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, fine. I can see there is only one way to solve this problem.
Whatever, I'm done arguing with you. What are you doing? What are you doing? Really, what are you doing?
I have taken this scientific journal article and it is full of facts, which I am now throwing at you. Because obviously you don't understand, so I need to throw facts at you.
Whatever.
Hey everybody, in this video I want to talk to you about basically what you just saw in that introductory clip, which is essentially when we get into an argument with somebody and we start disagreeing very strongly, the first impulse is usually to start pitching facts at them. We want to throw them the data, we want to throw them the research, we want to point out all the inconsistencies in what this other person is saying. Here's the problem. People aren't persuaded by that. Once you've already entrenched into a position, you don't just change your position because your opposition is throwing data at you. It just doesn't work. There have been fMRI scans that we've done wherein we've seen that the region of your brain that you are using when you're hearing facts from an opposing party that you're very emotionally entrenched in this position on, you're using something totally different in your brain than times when you're just hearing information about something that you're not invested in. So if you already have a position and the person you're talking to already has a position, don't just immediately start throwing facts at them because it doesn't work. In fact, it's even worse than that. It will lock them into their positions. There's a really fascinating study out of UCLA wherein they took people that had very strong opinions about vaccinations. They did not want their children to be vaccinated. And they were taking there were various reasons for this. They thought there was links to autism, but suffice it to say, they felt very strongly about it. So they took these people that were super anti-vax, and then they broke them into a couple groups. One of the groups, they said, okay, we recognize you have this very strong position about not using vaccines. Here's a bunch of information from the CDC showing you how we know that there is no link to autism, there's no negative effects that are going to come of these vaccines, and here's why they're safe. And interestingly, they then measured how strongly these people felt about anti-vaccination after being presented with this data, and they felt more strongly that you should not use vaccines when they heard data that was exactly the opposite of their position. They had another group wherein they presented them with a bunch of information, and in this group they weren't saying anything about the efficacy of vaccines or how safe they were or links to autism or anything like that. What they were pointing at was, here's a bunch of horrible things that can happen if your kids get sick. Here's some pictures of some children that have gotten sick from some of these terrible things. So they weren't even talking about the vaccines themselves, but this particular group actually changed their positions. They softened up. They started to feel more like they could accept this counter position. So it's really fascinating because what effectively was happening was these researchers were finding a way to cut through the core, not of the argument, but of what these people were really concerned about. At the end of the day, these people that were anti-vaxxers were worried about their kids. They didn't want to have their kids get sick or hurt or get autism or have whatever developmental problems might come of the vaccines. So they said, we don't want the vaccines. Now, when these researchers were tapping into that same basic concern, look, here are some terrible things that can happen to your kid, and then associated it with the vaccinations, that started to change their positions. So in other words, they were listening to what these people were concerned about and presenting an argument that wasn't just factual. It wasn't just, here's a bunch of facts that I'm lobbing at you. Let me spray my opinion at you. It's, let me hear what you're saying for a second and then explain to you some terrible things that could happen that are connected to my position. In other words, listen, just hear what they're saying and then respond in a way that connects with what their driving concerns are. Don't just throw facts at them. It simply doesn't work. If you have not already done this, please check out my website, which is www.embuffination.com. Also, please check out and subscribe, like, get the notifications to the YouTube channel, which is Emotional Embuffination, and check out the Facebook page, which is also Emotional Embuffination. Thanks. If you want to learn some more cool stuff like what we just talked about, some of the science related to emotions or conflict or how to deal with it, check this out. It is Emotional Embuffination, the book, now available on Barnes & Nobles in print, also available on Nook and Kindle, or you can learn more on my website, www.embuffination.com. Check it out.